أشرقت نفسي بنور من فؤادي حينما رددت يا رب العباد وانتشت روحي وصار الدمع يجري يا إلهي خذ
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Ndako Mijindadi. I'm the head of investments at Lotus Capital. In the course of my job, a lot of people ask us about permissible and impermissible transactions for Muslims. And I think it's good if we can spend some time just touching on some of the things that we should look out for in terms of permissibility and impermissibility. Now, first of all, we should know that everything is permissible unless there's a specific text or injunction that lets us know that it is impermissible. So in trying to understand or navigate this field, we should spend a bit more time on picking out all those things that are impermissible. We all know that riba is impermissible, so I wouldn't dwell too much on riba. But there are other types of business transactions that are also not allowed in Islam, and probably we may not be aware of it. So what I'll do is that I'll spend some time on these things, and hopefully Allah will make it beneficial for all of us. So what I'll be doing is I'll be reviewing a book on forbidden transactions, which was written by Sheikh Salih Al-Fawzan. May Allah have mercy on him. And in this book, what he has done is that he has provided evidence from the Quran and Sunnah to highlight some of these impermissible transactions. So I'll just touch on those, a few of them, and hopefully, we'll be able to see benefit there. Now, to start, I think there's a fantastic hadith that can set the context of our conversation. And this hadith is in this book. And it quotes that the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he walked into a marketplace in Medina. And he said, "O traders," so he addressed all the traders in the market. And they were busy with what they were doing, and as they heard his voice and as he addressed them, they raised their heads to listen to what the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam had to say. And he said that indeed traders will be resurrected as sinful evildoers. The word that was used was fujjar. Traders will be resurrected as sinful evildoers. And then he gave an exception. And the exception was that unless those who are fearful and dutiful to Allah, who are righteous, and those who are honest. So let's let that sink in. Traders, business people, will be raised as sinful evildoers unless those who are dutiful to Allah, who are righteous, and who are honest. Okay? So we should put that into practice, and as business people, as people who try and make money, we should try and imbibe these things. So what are the type of transactions that we should look out for when we are doing business? So what are the things that we should look out for to make sure that our business is permissible? Let me put it that way. The first thing is that we should not engage in business or making money to the extent that it makes us to forget about Allah. We know that the purpose for which we were created is ibadah, and so we should not get carried away with making money and doing transactions, and then we begin to forget Allah. There's a fantastic ayah in Surah Al-Munafiqun, where Allah says, "Ya ayyuhal ladhina amanu, la tulhikum amwalukum, wa la awladukum an dhikrillah, wa man yaf'alu dhalik, fa ulaika humul khasirun." And what this means is, O you who believe, do not let your wealth or your children to divert you from the remembrance of Allah. And whoever does this, whoever finds himself doing this, then such a person or such people will be among the losers. May Allah save us from being among the losers. So it's very important that we do not allow making money or our businesses or our jobs to make us forget to remember Allah. It's very key. So I think that's one of the things that we should look at. In terms of the transactions that are also that will be forbidden, is for us not to engage in selling prohibited items. So what are the prohibited items? For instance, we know that pork or alcohol and things like this are not permissible for consumption by Muslims. So we should not engage in selling these things. We should not engage in selling pornography or selling immoral images or immoral songs, and things like that. So we should make sure that the goods that we are transacting in are goods that are permissible, wholesome, and lawful in Islam. Another transaction that we should be wary of is called ina. Now, what is ina? Ina is a type of transaction that people who are trying to be smart, who are trying to make money from riba, they get into. And so what do? Somebody who needs to make money or who wants to borrow money on interest will walk up to you and say, you know what, why don't you sell me an asset and I'll pay you a ridiculous amount of money. I'll pay you, say, 100,000 naira next week, right? And immediately you give him that asset, he'll say, you know what, why don't I sell this asset back to you at 50 naira? Automatically, he sells the asset to you, he gets 50 naira today, and he pays you back 100 naira next tomorrow. Now, this is a deceitful transaction in that you're disguising what you're doing to actually dealing interest. Islamically, this is forbidden. So we should please stay away from transactions like ina. Other transactions that the Sheikh has spoken about in his book is a transaction called Adnajash. Now, we need to be very careful. As business people, sometimes we want to make our goods to sell at a very high price so we can make a very good profit. And there may be the temptation to lie or to exaggerate the price. Sometimes you hear people say things like, oh, I tell you that I bought this thing at so price. If you don't buy it from me at this price, I wouldn't make a profit. Whereas they might be lying. So it's important that we try and reduce this tendency or eliminate this tendency to deceive people or to lie or to exaggerate in the prices of goods when we're trying to sell these goods. Another thing that we should be wary of is selling defective products or hiding the defects or bad qualities of a product that we're trying to sell. When we do things like this, we're likely to lose the benefit of the reward from this sale. So you see people who potentially could sell things on the internet, right? And they know that there are defects in this thing. So they take the pictures in ways that people can't really see or get a full view of all the bad things that might be in this product. Or people that are trying to sell cars and they don't tell you the true situation of that car. What happens is that they have actually deceived you in that transaction. As Muslims, we should try and stay away from transactions that are deceitful. The Rasul ﷺ tells us that one who deceives us or cheats us is not one of us. Okay? So I think it's very important that we also try and pay attention to things like this. The last thing that I would like to touch on is that as Muslims, we should not buy things on top of our brother who has already entered into a transaction. So it's very possible that you have a brother who has gone and tried to buy something from a shop. He has finished the transaction, he just might have not paid, and the person selling it might have given him the option to go back and bring the money. We shouldn't go and make a sale and say, hey, look, don't sell to that person, sell to me, I'll pay you more. Don't do this, okay? Don't try and outbid your brother. In doing trades like this, you're likely to spoil the reward that you can make from this transaction, okay? So what we've done today is just try and recap on some of the things that we do as business people that can make us lose the reward of our transactions and make these transactions impermissible, transactions that could otherwise have potentially brought benefit to us. We pray that Allah makes this beneficial to all of us. Jazakumullah khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Halima Ahmad. Thank you for joining me on this edition of Knowing the Dawah Institute. Nam alhamdulillah rabbil alamin. We have with us here the head of the IET Media Productions Unit. So what's this about the IET Media Productions Unit?
It is the subunit of the Dawah Institute of Nigeria, and it's also subdivided into three subunits, and each of the subunits reflects the activities of the units. So we have the communications unit, we have the IT unit, and also the productions unit.
Interesting. So what are the activities of this media productions unit?
So the communications unit, has the responsibility of marketing the activities of the organization. The IT unit is responsible for building the digital assets of the organization, the digital infrastructure, and the productions units, which is the core of the IET Media Productions. They focus on producing the video and audio contents for the organization, which we use on our social media, on our website, and others. We partnered with other TV stations also, and some online organizations also. So basically that's what we do.
That's very good work.
Exactly.
That place to work. Thank you very much for spending some time with us. Thank you for joining me on this edition of Knowing the Dawah Institute.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Ndako Mijindadi. I'm the head of investments at Lotus Capital. Today, I'd like to talk about one financial product that is very popular. However, many people may not understand how it works. And this is a mutual fund. A mutual fund. Some people also call this a collective investment scheme. You can forget the very long name and just stick with mutual fund. So what is a mutual fund? Right? A mutual fund, in very simple terms, is a product that collects money from various people into one place and invests it together. So when I and you, for instance, put our money together with somebody else, and that person manages it for us and invests it for us and shares the income with the two of us, that would be a mutual fund. Okay? It's a very popular product. You can find Islamic or Sharia compliant mutual funds. There are non-compliant mutual funds as well, but there are quite a lot of Sharia compliant mutual funds. Right? Now, what are the benefits of mutual funds? Right? So it's very possible that you might have some money to invest, and that money you have might be much smaller than what another person has to invest, right? So you might have 100 naira to invest, another person might have 200 naira to invest, another person might have 500 naira to invest. A mutual fund allows all these people to aggregate their monies together and invest collectively. It's also possible that we might want to get into a business that requires a huge amount of capital for investment. However, I as an individual might not be able to get into that business because my money is so small. If I were to pool my funds with other people in a mutual fund, the mutual fund would be able to acquire that asset and give us the shared income that that asset generates. It's also possible that through a mutual fund, somebody in Kano, somebody in Maiduguri, somebody in Lagos, somebody in Abuja, we could all potentially bring our monies together and be one part of a big family that invests collectively. So a mutual fund has various benefits. Other things that we should talk about relating to mutual funds is how a mutual fund acquires assets and what kind of ownership you have. So say for instance, we put our monies together and we bought into, say, a big building, right? And that building went out on rent. And then whenever the rent came, we were able to share the monies with each other. The ownership of that building rests with the mutual fund. So we own collectively that building. I, as one person, would not be able to go and sell off the building and cheat all the other people. Rather, only the fund which includes I and you, can sell off that building or acquire that building because we're joint owners into that mutual fund. So that's another benefit of a mutual fund, right, is collective ownership. Other things that a mutual fund does is that it distributes the income generated from this asset across everybody, right? There are some mutual funds that pay dividends as frequently as every quarter. Some pay every half year, some pay every other year. Right? Some might not pay, but rather the value of your investment might grow, right? So mutual funds also give you an opportunity to get shared income. So I'll give you an instance. Say for instance, we put together our money and we bought a building, and that building began to pay rental income. And that rental income was, say, 1 million naira a year. If there were 10 of us that contributed money for that building, we could potentially get each 100,000 naira every year as our share of the income that was made from that building. Okay, so mutual funds potentially give us a very good opportunity to make some sort of income. Another thing about mutual funds is that mutual funds are liquid. You might wonder what liquid means. What it simply means is on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, you could potentially put your money into a mutual fund. If you made some money trading today, you could take out some of that money and buy into a mutual fund. If you needed your money on any other business day, you could also take out money from the mutual fund. So it's very liquid. It's very easy to go in and out. Now, if, for instance, I had by myself bought that building alone and I happen to need money very quickly, it'll be very hard for me to sell off the building because the building is naturally not liquid. But if I had done this through a mutual fund, I could potentially approach the person managing that fund and ask for some of my money back. So a mutual fund is liquid and gives us a lot of flexibility. I hope with this we have a better and stronger understanding of mutual funds as a product. The Sharia compliant versions of these mutual funds are available to Muslim investors, to Sharia compliant investors, to all investors. And we hope that it will be a very good investment vehicle for everybody. Jazakumullah khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.